thanks for joining me today. Hopefully you'll learn a few new things and come away with a few more tricks up your sleeve to help yourself during this upcoming cold and flu season. But we'll go ahead and get started because I know that you guys are probably on lunch breaks and have to get back to work. So here we go. Okay, I am not going to spend much time reviewing the immune system because it is obviously not my scope of practice. I'm sure there are some of you here that could actually give a really engaging and informative workshop over the immune system. And the immune system is obviously really complex and so fascinating, but we'll just do a really quick overview. In a general sense, our first line of defense when it comes to the immune system is this, we'll describe it as a barrier, and that includes our skin, mucous membranes, our stomach acid, and that prevents the invasion of just any viruses and microbes just altogether. It helps them from even entering into our bodies. And then when we move on to the innate part of our immune system, that's more of a general defense. It consists of the white blood cells, specifically the neutrophils and macrophages that destroy the foreign invaders as they enter our bodies. And then as we move on a little bit more is our adaptive or our acquired immune system. And that uses more white blood cells, but more specifically lymphocytes, or you might have heard something called T cells that target infected cells, B cells that produce antibodies from being exposed to specific pathogens. So I say all that to just say when someone says they want to boost their immune system, what we really mean is we want to support and maintain a healthy, balanced, regulated immune system of these methods. Because really a boosted or overacted or dysregulated immune system is not actually a good thing. We don't want it to be boosted and going and engaged and active all the time. That's not actually the goal. So our goal here today is to find ways how things that we choose to eat can support that healthy and balanced immune system. Okay, so now for why you actually came to this workshop today, we're going to discuss the nutrition piece. And I'm sorry to disappoint everyone probably right up front, but there is unfortunately no scientifically proven studies that support specific foods with preventing viral illnesses or infections altogether. There's just too many outside factors, including a person's genetics, your lifestyle factors, environmental factors of what's going on around you that can vary among individuals who eat the exact same foods. However, an overall healthy eating pattern can provide you with specific nutrients that will support your immune system as well as decrease your risk for chronic diseases, which in itself can put you at higher risk for other infectious diseases. And the way it does that is usually by just reducing inflammation and helping the production of those white blood cells that we need. I usually ask for questions at the end of every slide, so this is a little different for me. So hold on to your questions at the end and hopefully I can get to them all. So let's start with the vitamins that have been associated with supporting a healthy immune system. We'll just go in alphabetical order here. Vitamin A plays a role in developing immune cells. It's especially necessary for that when we're responding to a viral attack that we are producing all those white blood cells that we need. Also, vitamin A foods are typically rich in carotenoids, and that is a powerful antioxidant that protects cell damage from free radicals. So it's kind of playing double duty there. And common foods with vitamin A are carrots, sweet potatoes, tomatoes, usually those red and orange vegetables have those carotenoids. We're all probably familiar that vitamin C, it plays a role in immunity. We use it a lot to prevent and treat colds and viruses. And the thought is that vitamin C may increase the production of white blood cells that help our body fight infection. We also know that it aids in healing. Our body does not produce vitamin C on its own, and it is water soluble, which means we don't store it in our bodies for very long. So eating adequate amounts of vitamin C daily is really important. But contrary to what a lot of people believe, we don't need huge, big mega doses every day. For reference, women really, the RDA is just 75 milligrams. Men, it's up to about 90. However, during illness or injury, an increased dose may be warranted or recommended. It may just help you fight off that illness and help you, and also it works as an antihistamine, which may help you feel better. But unless you're directed by a physician, we don't really recommend you doing over 2,000 milligrams per day, which when you're looking at maybe those emergencies, they're usually about maybe 1,000 milligrams. You just want to maybe just do those once a day, not 3 or 4 a day. Vitamin D, is having kind of a moment right now. There's lots of health claims around it and reasons we're told to supplement with vitamin D. And it's true that many people may be deficient in vitamin D, especially with decrease in sun exposure, which is not a bad thing when we're trying to talk about our skin health, either from sunscreen or populations are indoors more often, especially the elderly population. Recent studies have shown a link of vitamin D supplementation with fewer and less severe cases of the seasonal flu. But in those cases, the people who were receiving supplements were deficient to begin with. So they were really just getting up more to an adequate level of vitamin D levels. Supplementation is generally considered to be safe. I always suggest talking with your doctor first before you take a supplement of any kind. And if it's feasible or reasonable, have your vitamin D levels checked to see what dosage of supplement is right for you. Vitamin E is another powerful antioxidant, but this vitamin is fat soluble, which means it's better stored in the body, but is better absorbed in the presence of fat. So it's nice that foods that are naturally rich in vitamin E also have a good amount of fat in them, like our nuts, our seeds, our avocados. The RDA of vitamin E is only 15 milligrams, which is about what you would find in about half a cup of almonds. So it doesn't take a whole lot. Those are our vitamins. Okay, trace elements. Trace elements are just different from minerals that, our main minerals that we need in our body are like sodium, phosphorus, potassium. And then these trace elements are just ones that our body just needs less of to function properly. So we'll start with iron. Iron, as we know, is necessary for the healthy production, development, and operation of our blood cells, including our immune cells. An iron deficiency would impair that production and development and leave you more vulnerable to infection. However, too much iron can also be harmful and it may actually suppress the immune system. So really, as with all things, just supplement under the direction of a physician. Selenium provides protection to the antioxidants we spoke of to prevent oxidative stress and help the antioxidants do what they're supposed to do. Other studies have shown that a deficiency in selenium can decrease resistance to infection, so just leave you a little bit more vulnerable. However, supplementation of selenium is really rarely necessary. We can find it in mushroom, figs, eggs. We don't need a whole lot. If you were to eat Brazil nuts, it really, watch your dosage of that. Don't eat too many Brazil nuts at once because too much selenium is not a good thing either. Zinc helps ensure our immune cells, Zinc helps ensure our immune cells can function as they were intended. It works right alongside vitamin C to repair cells and aid in healing. Some studies have shown that taking zinc while sick can shorten the duration of symptoms. The RDA for zinc is sufficient for this, so really mega doses in this case aren't necessary. Usually when you're seeing if you're taking a vitamin C supplement or in your multivitamin, they pair it with zinc anyway. So they put the zinc in there, or it's usually you're not needed to take anything extra on top of that. And other just general nutrition recommendations, just eating an adequate calorie intake. I know that's really vague, but when we're undernourished, you're more prone to illness or injury. You're not, your body's working hard to just do its normal bodily functions and it can't take on much more. On the other hand, obesity has been linked to more severe cases of the flu, and we're finding even maybe more of severe cases of COVID-19. As well as an increased risk for other chronic diseases like heart disease and diabetes. So when we say adequate, that means the calorie level that is adequate to maintain a healthy weight for you. And you can always come talk to me one-on-one if you are more curious about what that might be. Protein contains building blocks for countless body functions, and it's essential for recovery and healing. So I'm not saying you need to switch to a, 100-gram, hundreds and hundreds of grams of protein every day, but just ensure you're getting a variety of lean proteins throughout the day. I say throughout the day because our body can only utilize so much protein at one time. And so we want to make sure that we're continuing to replenish those stores to build our muscles to help our body function. I also want to say, adequate fluid intake. We know that fluids help maintain good electrolyte balance. That's key for so many things in the body. More than adequate fluids, really pushing fluids can also help flush or move and rid the body of bacteria, and it also helps regulate our body temperature. So that's really important when we're feeling sick. I mentioned before just an overall healthy eating pattern, and I say that because this isn't just a particular diet that we follow just during cold and flu season and then can just do whatever we want the rest of the year. This is a lifetime of eating that focuses on fresh or frozen whole foods. It's rich in plants, but it's not so strict that it doesn't allow all foods in moderation. If we aim to fill our plates with vegetables, fruits, lean proteins, and high fiber starches, will naturally increase the amount of vitamins and minerals and antioxidants that we eat, which may support all functions of the body, including our immune function. Okay, now the role of the microbiome, which is also another thing that's been, well, maybe just in my world, but I feel like it's kind of having a moment. A lack or imbalance of healthy intestinal gut bacteria can result in chronic inflammation, and consequently that can suppress the immune system or increase our immune reactions. We have a pretty good understanding of the role of probiotics to protect and treat gut infections, but researchers are now suggesting that probiotics may provide similar protection or be a good supplemental treatment to respiratory infections. One thought is considering a gut-lung axis. You may have heard something like the gut-brain axis, just those connections between the gut and the lungs or the brain. That means that maybe the gut microbiota may influence pulmonary health. But this is mostly observational at this point. There isn't a lot of studies that reflect that. Some other thoughts suggest that probiotics strengthen the mucosal layer of the immune system, just create a better barrier of immunity and maybe even increase T cells. So there's some really interesting things that are beginning that we're starting to learn about that are really promising and pretty cool. Okay, specifically when we're talking about giving the body good, healthy bacteria, we're talking about the prebiotics and the probiotics. You've probably heard of probiotics, but really before that, we really need to make sure our body, we're eating enough prebiotic foods, which are non-digestible food carbohydrates, also known as fibers, because they stimulate the growth and help the activity of the good bacteria of probiotics. So you can think of prebiotics as the food or the fuel for probiotics to maintain a healthy, strong colonization of good, healthy gut bacteria. So I call them fibers. All prebiotics are a form of fiber, but not all fiber is going to be a prebiotic. So I've listed below some of the foods that do have some prebiotic properties. So garlic, onion, leeks, asparagus, and bananas, specifically ones that have more of a greener tip, have a good source of those prebiotics to help fuel the probiotics, which the definition by the World Health Organization is live organisms which, when administered in adequate amounts, confer a health benefit on the host. So that is often found in fermented foods, yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, tempeh, which is a soy product, kimchi, and miso. However, it's hard to know which strain of probiotic and in what amounts you're getting in just the food product. So many people do choose to supplement. However, and unfortunately, not all probiotic strains are the same and have the same function in the body. If you're looking to supplement with probiotics for a particular treatment, whether it be diarrhea or IBS, or to help maybe just keep your immune system strong, you'll want to look up and see which strains have been studied for that. Specifically, the studies I saw in regards to respiratory infections were forms of the lactobacillus and the bifidobacterium strains. So generally if someone's asking me about supplements and probiotics in my office, I say, look for one that has a variety of strains, unless you're really looking for it to do something specific, and then we'll look up and see which strain has been shown to have some health benefits in that area. Okay. That's a really, really broad overview on something that's pretty specific. So we can always answer questions later on. Okay, what about supplements altogether? Supplements of those vitamins, minerals, probiotics, herbals. As a dietitian, we generally recommend that people consume all these nutrients through whole foods as much as possible. That's because to achieve the recommended amounts, that means you would be eating more fruits, more vegetables, more whole grains, and that's always a good thing. However, I realize there are some populations that are going to have a hard time reaching that amount and would benefit from a supplement. Usually those that have a poor appetite or have difficulty cooking fresh meals every day. Perhaps a person who has little variety in their diet, maybe due to a mental impairment or poor dentition. However, and then I want to mention, herbal supplements, we know that they're not regulated and studies on them are very limited and usually funded by someone who can benefit from the study. So for the general population, a 1-a-day vitamin can fill in gaps, but it's really not a substitute for an overall healthy eating pattern. There's too many other benefits for all the what comes in the foods and maybe what you are eating instead of eating something else. So that's kind of the thought there. Okay, some other foods that are thought to influence immune function. Again, not a lot of strong evidence with any of these, but you may have heard about them, so I wanted to kind of touch base on each of these here. I've heard of people eating several cloves of raw garlic every day to ward off illness, and well, there's not a lot of strong studies that support that. Garlic does have a large concentration of something called allicin, which is thought to be anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, antimicrobial, and can reduce the risk of some disease. So there's some correlation, there's some thought behind that. And it's not gonna, it definitely won't hurt, it will only help. So to release those allicin compounds, if you're able to, once you mince it, before you add it to heat, before you cook with it, let it rest for 5 to 10 minutes, and that helps release those allicin compounds and helps strengthen those. So that's a little trick if you're able to, if you have the time to do that. Green tea, it has a variety of antioxidants and also an amino acid that might aid in the production of T cells. Echinacea appeared to destroy flu viruses in cell studies, and another study suggests there was some measure in protecting against catching a cold, but these studies are not consistent in human studies and not super strong. Regardless, drinking hot tea can increase your fluid intake, which we know is good, and perhaps maybe the steam from a warm liquid can help clear the nasal passages and help you feel better and help with your symptoms. So again, as long as you're doing it in moderation and not overdoing the dosage, it's not going to be harmful. And elderberry is generally refers to a variety of the sambucus tree. If you haven't heard of it, you'll often find it bottles of syrup or made into gummies. Elderberry extract has been shown to reduce the length and severity of cold and flu symptoms, has not yet been proven to actually prevent the onset of illness. Most of the studies are small, more research is needed, but results are really promising and side effects seem minimal. Testing has only been done in commercial products. I know a lot of people will buy, the berries and make the, the product themselves. Again, you want to be careful when doing that. There are parts of the elderberry that aren't intended to be eaten, so make sure that you're getting just the berry part, and it needs to be cooked. I'm sure there'll be some questions about that at the end. And there's many, many other factors that can help, help our immune system or suppress our immune system. Nutrition is really only one piece of the puzzle. Our age, as we age, we can have just a more suppressed immune system. We already talked about weight and chronic diseases where our body's already working hard to fight other things. Chronic stress releases cytokines and cortisol and those hormones that can make us more prone to illness. A lack of sleep can do similar things. And then just environmental toxins that are just the things around us that we don't have a lot of control over can also affect our immune system. So our best practices to keep our immune systems working optimally, just follow the same guidelines that are generally recommended for just an overall healthy lifestyle. Eat a balanced diet, stay hydrated, don't smoke. If you're going to drink alcohol, drink in moderation, move your body, exercise regularly, manage your stress and sleep as best you can. And of course, I couldn't not say, wash your hands. That is the best and most important thing you can do every day. Okay, that is it from me. I'm going to skip this slide since I know that I can't hear you. I will take your questions in just a moment, but I wanted to put my information up here. Here is the OU Health Web Services website. And this is my email. I have been told prior to telehealth that I will see faculty, students, and staff on the Norman campus, but they might have actually broadened that now with telehealth. If not, I'm sure that the Health Services campus and the Tulsa campus might have your own dietitian. So you should definitely reach out and find out that specifically if you have questions about that. Okay. I'm wondering if do you want me to check the chat? I'll look at the chat and see what it says. I can hear, good. Okay. Okay, there are really no questions. Anybody have any question? Put it in the chat. I saw one for favorite recipes, and that's kind of a really big question. I just like to, I mean, favorite recipes, that's kind of a hard question to answer here, but Shannon, if you want to email me, then we can talk about that maybe through an email. Can a dietitian help with diet planning for those who need a little extra help? Absolutely, I would love to. Does the coronavirus hit men harder? Do women have a more immune system? That is going to be a question more for an immunologist, I'm afraid. I think from the data I looked at, some do say that it hits men harder. I'm not going to answer that specifically. I don't have the data behind me or the scope of practice to want to answer that specifically. Tell me more about elderberry prep. I have a bush. That's neat. You know, from my reading, I've never done it myself, but I do just know you need to just use the berries, not the leaves or the flowers. The flowers can be used in other ways, but the berries need to be just cooked down to help. It helps cook away a toxic factor in there. So just make sure you cook it down on the stove, but the berry part is what you want. Okay. Probiotics, there's so many available. Things to look for a quality one. Yes, there are so many probiotics available. Also, I'm going to stop really quick. If I don't answer your question well, please put another note in there and I'll try to get back to it. So with probiotics, what you want to look for is you want to look for, again, the strain that you want. You want to look for the storage instructions. Is it meant to be stored in the refrigerator? Does it not have to be stored in the refrigerator? Because we want to make sure if it has live active cultures that we're able to keep as much alive when we take it as what says it's in the bottle. Already we don't know. Already it could have, we might not be getting exactly what was said was put in the bottle at the time of packaging. So we want to make sure we know how to store it. You want to look at the CFUs, the colonization forming units. And, you know, again, the dosage, we don't know what is the adequate amount because we don't know what our gut already holds. If it has what it says it has, but we want a few billion just to make sure it's going to be an adequate amount. You want to see if the manufacturers gives their contact information, because if they don't, that might be a clue that they don't stand behind their product. So I always say, if you can find the manufacturer's contacting information, that way you can kind of look them up and just kind of see how transparent they are. Okay. Good sources of omega-3 fatty acids and monosaturated fats. Good question. Yes, because omega-3s also just help keep our bodies working, bodies and brains working strong. Omega-3 fatty acids are going to be in fatty fish like salmon. It's also found in flax seeds, walnuts, our chia seeds, and hemp hearts. Those are all good sources of omega-3 fatty acids and also of the monounsaturated fats. Monounsaturated fats are going to be more plant-based. So our nuts, seeds, avocados, olives, things like that. I hope I'm not talking too quickly. Sometimes I do get to talking pretty fast. So someone writes, slow down if I'm talking too fast in the chat. Okay, Kelleigh saying she has a recipe for the elderberry syrup, Rachel, so you and Kelleigh need to get connected. Is there a certain brand of vitamins that I recommend? When I'm recommending vitamins, I again say the biggest thing that I would want to look for is that it doesn't provide 8,000% of your daily needs. That's not what we need. Just a general 1 a day vitamin. If it does do that, you can break it in half. Or maybe you don't want to take it every day. You just choose to take it maybe when you're on vacation and you know you're not eating the way you normally do. Or if you are feeling like you've had a poor appetite for a while and you want to kind of supplement. But if you can find one that has just about 100% or even less of your recommended daily value, that's kind of the most key thing that I would look for. Okay, I was feeling behind because I couldn't hear you, so I ran through those questions really quickly. What are the hazards of eating eggs? I think I don't know of any hazard, and I think that might be a question for us to talk about. If you want to make an appointment or email me, but the hazard of eating eggs, they do contain cholesterol, but I wouldn't call that a hazard. Good question.